Hello and welcome as we are now moving into the All-Star game for football. And in this video, I'm going to go over some strategies that contain a huge edge and just a phenomenal situation for this game. It starts 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 16 hours from the time I am recording this video. So if you're watching this beforehand, it would really help if you've already watched information beforehand, or if you're still able to do so, of other videos that I have done regarding that of how to win that. But before we get into that, fantasy hockey as well. In this video, I'm going to go over information for both the hockey and the football. I got a total of 6 set spreadsheets that I'm going to show, plus 2 text files. 8 pieces of documented information, some of which is for hockey, some of which is for pro football, and one of which is just something to show because it's like, this is like something I had up anyway. I might as well just close this. This is a trade that I made earlier today. So I was just calculating to see how much, what numbers I should have used, and yada, yada, yada. So that one's done. But that's crypto trading. That's like a part-time job almost. This is becoming a full-time job for me, and I'm damn good at it, actually. Anyway, in hockey today, there was an All-Star game. 2 games. There was 44 NHL All-Stars. And in the game of fantasy, in the showdowns, you have to take a captain. And a captain is someone you pay 50% more in the cost. Each player has different prices. We'll take a look at the football prices for the Pro Bowl as one of the spreadsheets. And you pay 50% more, they get you 50% more points. So basically it's a bet who's going to get the most points. And of the 44, I felt there was a huge chance of the 25. And I'll show you the text file how I came up with that number. 25 of that shot, I was thinking, and not only to be eligible, but also be on the winning team. So it had to be a parlay of things. Not only have the most points and be on the team that scores the most points. I'm not too sure about the final game, but in the first 2 games, the first game, David Pasternak had the most fantasy points. Thomas Hertel in the second game. They were both part of the 25 eligible captains. My profits was a few 100% ROI, so over 500. I did not bet over 2. So under 200 bet, over 500 profit. So good day for me. And I was expecting to do so. And the second game was really a disappointment for me because one of the captains was Thomas Hertel. He was like one of the bottom end of the guys. Normally in a game, on an everyday game, I would have eligible captains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10, 11, maybe 10, sometimes not even, 8 to 11. And there are 38 hockey players in a normal game, in an everyday game. And they're doghouse players as well that I have. And doghouse players are ones whom don't get played at all. I'll play several lineups, like dozens of them. At least around a couple anyway. And that means I have multiple different captains. And some guys barely get played, maybe once or twice. I would think it's called the Joe Thornton rule, which means you only get in there once because you're barely good enough, but you're not doing so good. But some guys got complete doghouse. And in the football, hockey today, there were 8 players who did. And let's just show you what I did for research on it. And this is a text file. And I am a big box score advocate, big time. So in the history of these All-Star games, not including the one that just played, these are what the scores are. And this is what the fantasy points that were given. So the Metro lost 4-3, and then I figured out this is what the Atlantic players got. If you want to see what the scores were, you could pause tape at whatever time, as if I would expect that. And as I was going through this, well, obviously the goalies just suck at this. And the fact that people might pick them are some of the things that I was thinking, especially because of the way so many mathematical setup, the price, averages they have. Totally different game, which is the whole point of the All-Star games, why there's so much differently. And the way I played this was most 75% of it was almost completely opposite of what I did at times. Some of it was like 25% was the exact same. So many other things were like just different in so many ways. And I just went through all of these different notes. I went through every single bit of these statistics. And that was that. That were the statistics. Now, as far as some of the ownerships of these games, This is a cheap game. This was a one random 10-cent game. The $8 game, goalies were picked about 2 to 4% of the time. But 12.6% of the people took Tyson Yari, Andrei Vasilevsky 11.86, Holtby 7.8, and Freddie Anderson 6.8% of the time. And as this game was going on, they were both at minus 5.6. And when I was looking at the stats, I even calculated that like the 50-50 median ratio. If I could bet over under 0, I'd bet under on the goalies. So DraftKings in itself made so many mistakes. Mistakes like not knowing, they didn't have the prices right. These guys were expensive to buy as well. They should have been like nothing to buy, like 200 or 1,000 or 2,000. Or maybe adjust the prices because normally you get 0.7 points to save. I thought if they put 3 points to save, that would have made it very interesting for fantasy point purposes. But so basically the play was just to completely fade the goalies. That was the first one. That was the obvious one. And then the secret, of course, was to stack the players accordingly. But what I did, well, this would be one of my lines, 17 out of 20. So my this one finished in, or was leading at this point anyway. Let's just put it in bold. If I can find the B on my computer, which I can't. Why can't I? Trying to find my bold button. Anyway, David Pastrnak flex John, and that wasn't the winning one because Pastrnak became the best. I was doing this midway through the game because I was just trying to find because I wasn't even gonna look at it until there was a good stoppage, so I had to wait for time. Anyway, just do it this way. Captain Nico Hisshire, one of the eligible captains, with TJ Oshie, Matthew Barzal, Chris Letang, John Carlson, and David Pastrnak. That was the lineup that I was playing at that point. It was only 46.5 at that point. Of course, we needed more points to win. Another spreadsheet that I have is one in which I check results. And this user here didn't play any $1 game. I play all the games from 10 cents up to, I've won as high as 100 as my largest individual game. That was only once. And normally I don't play more than 10. But I've played 10 and lower several times. Anyway, so the $1 game to me is the expense midway game. It's one that you can put at least guaranteed every day, 17 lineups in minimum, usually 20. So I like to just take every result. There's like lots of them in here. I'll put mine results in. They're damn good. And I can't count tonight's results, which I wish I could because I crushed the board tonight for score purposes because the $1 game is what I crushed in the second game, not in the $5 game. Anyway, 681 games I've played. I have a net score of 522, which is overall 76.7, just a phenomenal number. Anything over 0 is good. -1 is -5 ain't that bad either. I set it up so that -20, -15 is like where it starts to become like average should be -15. And this tells you how many times I finished in the top 0.2 or 1 of every 500 people. I'm supposed to have done it 1.362 times. I've done it 3 times. 6.8 times I'm supposed to finish in the top 1%. I've done it 11. Top 5% I've done it 64 when the average is 34. And the top 20%, 207 when it's 136. But the reason I was searching for that person was because when I was looking at the games today and the $8 biggest game they had for the fantasy, I was looking at the names. I just couldn't recognize really many at all. And all the good players, only one, and he was only not one of the, probably the 5th best player that I'm looking at was playing. The top 3 weren't in, so that was like sweet. But there was one name that played a lot. So what I did is he was playing a lot of lineups. So it's only 4. That was still. I wanted to search how that person did in here. This is the it's called the big game $10. This is when a lot of fish when it came in, as I like to call it, or a lot of casual players, people who are not used to the game. That's why they would endure a nickname of such, because they play different games like the traditional game. So what I did is I just wanted to take a look to see what kind of rating I would give this player. And he's a pretty good player, actually. Somebody who I thought would be a A- to an A-rated player. Not quite A+. I've seen a couple of mistakes that they made in this Pittsburgh guy. Not really many, though. This guy was pretty good. Maybe not an A-. No, it's an A. So I knew this person was pretty good, but it still wasn't enough to levy me away from playing the game. I just looked at, okay, another reasons why it was a magnificent game to play. And as far as my best lineup this game, I didn't do so. This was a terrible game for me. I lost. This is the most I've lost in any game, which is fine. And my biggest win several times more have been higher than this single individual loss. Many times. Where's my best lineup? AG47. That just... Did I not do... No, I did bad, of course. Yep, this was my best lineup. So I'll give you just a little quick example. Malkin, Gensel, Rwendell, Paul, and Tyson Jerry. That was a hockey lineup. Goalies were okay to play in this, but not in the All-Star game. All right, so that's hockey, and I spent a lot of time on it, but I've been talking about fantasy ever since I've been transitioning into it, so I'm going to keep updating it moving forward within this channel. And if there's anyone on DraftKings here looking or playing on DraftKings looking for an edge, it's huge. This is gold and then some. I can't believe how much I like this. And I'm going to be busy for the rest of the night and in the morning making lineups, but they're really easy to make. It's just I got large numbers that I'm dealing with. So NFL Pro Bowl, how to win. Well, the unique lineup strategy, which I've talked about before, I think if you search Money's Charts, Daily Fantasy Football, I did a video several months ago, and I did one before last year's Super Bowl. I think I've done 2 or 3. That information that I talk about is where it makes it gold. For the Super Bowl, I mean, you're talking about putting unique lineup. If you want to win the $1 million on the $10 game, well, you got to be fancy as anything. And it's going to be hard. And it's going to give you lineups that aren't as good and that are really unlikely to not only cash now, but even win. It's just much harder. This is the opposite. This is where lineups cashing is high, being unique is high. The top tier, playing these large field games is what it's all about. That's the way to play this strategy. You're looking for fields of several thousands and tens of thousands of people. You want to win 101, 50 and 1, 20 and 1, minimum 20, 30 and 1 type prizes, or to 1 win anyway. I like these for satellites. Try to get your $10 ticket by playing a dime or a quarter. That's 100 or 25 to 1 that way. I think it's great strategies. Okay. So that video, of course, will explain the great long-term profits. But now let's get into the game. And these are the players that are playing. What we have is the position, quarterback, receiver, tight end, running back. There's also kicker and defense as well. The salary and how much they cost. The average points per game. Now the amount of qualified captains in this is, well, some of them. People not eligible to play. I'm not playing a kicker. I'm not playing a defense. And we're going to see. I'm not even going to be playing running backs probably at all. Hardly playing quarterbacks to play as wide receivers. Let's take a look at the text file for box scores in football. And amongst such, for the QB stats, we're looking for, it'll be yards, touchdowns, interceptions. And on the wide receivers and tight ends, the receptions are reception, yards, and touchdowns. And when the running backs have their stats, it's their rushing yards. And then the receptions, yards, and either a rushing or a reception touchdown. And we're going to go back to 2015. And, it was very difficult for me to get data before this. Really, it was really tough. I'm like, it's screw it. The metagame has been changing. I mean, it's going to be tough. Last year was huge rain. And anyway, for a situation for this to occur, you're basically fading the running backs. We're fading the quarterbacks. We're fading the kickers. That's an easy one. and Pro Bowl, I think. Not so easy. Like it's like simplistically easy. The team defenses, but defenses will get interception touchdowns here and there, and they can get sacks. I didn't put defensive stats in there, but they are definitely, if the prices weren't screwed up, they definitely would have been something you'd have to play. But the prices are screwed up; you don't have to play them. Okay. So Breeze, these are the stats, the average score for the quarterbacks. We got wide receivers in here. And in brackets, if the player got at least 15 fantasy points, I'm going to put it in brackets like this and what their score is. These are DraftKings points. And these are tight ends or receivers. Either they're the same thing. They just catch balls and go in end zones and so on and so forth. I didn't get the greatest of box scores for this one because they only show notable guys. That's why it says there were other WRs. That's not going to be the case with the rest of them. Everyone's going to pretty much have them all. So Darren Sproles got 18.1. It seems that the running backs that are the worst catchy running backs, you can see, when you look at these rushing yards that they get, now Ingram got 72 yards. Now that's rare. I mean, getting these 16, 18, 20, 30-yard numbers are what you're expecting. Now, quarterbacks. Breeze, 163 yards. Okay, let's look at what should a quarterback get per game? 250, 300, 350, 380, and really 265 is the average. In Pro Bowls, you expect that number higher. So 700 maybe or so passing yards. There's 6 quarterbacks playing. Divide 700 divided by 6. So the average quarterback's going to get a little over 100 yards. Now, the fact that Stafford got 316 on this day, like OMG kind of deal. But, yeah, deliver that. Running backs, same thing. I mean, you're talking about a whole bunch of different running backs that are going to have to help carry the rock in a game that's going to be more of a passing style offense as it is anyway. It's just not good news for their running attempts. So that's why if you can find the running backs that are able to get these kind of catches, then they become formidable. As we can see here with, what was that running back in here? Darren Sproles, 42 yards running, but he had 6 catches for 79 yards. And that's 13.9 just on the yards or the receiving game. And in 2016, we can see in here that average for the quarterbacks, 10.8, receivers averaging 12.5, and the running backs averaging 9 1/3. Although Doug Martin getting 15 that year. 2017, Andy Dalton, and there's the quarterbacks, only a 5.37 average, but when the scores get low, I mean, receivers average 9.78. And there we got the big scores here. So in captaincy and fantasy football, these are the 2 guys that needed to be your captain, basically, Beckham and Baldwin. And by the way, every single time, these guys are always the captain. They won every one. But with that being said, that's just how it goes. Running backs, 5.03 average here. 2018, this is the quarterbacks, pretty pathetic. 4.78 average. Wide receivers, 8.68 average, and 1 with over 15. That was Delaney Walker, 4 catches for 29 yards and 2 touchdowns, a tight end. So he counts as a receiver. He catches balls. And running backs, an average of 5.61. Last year, and you know what? The reason why I know this is bad weather is normally I would have not have forgotten it. But that was a traumatic experience because I seen the bad weather, noticing it like minutes before when it's all starting. When the game even already started, I'm like, holy shit, how am I not taking advantage of this stuff? I know how to play bad weather. And it would have, under was like easy money as anything. But that was the play. Bet under the total in Vegas odds kind of deal. That would have been the play. And I would have done that so fast and so easy. But I didn't do that. That's fine. In that bad weather game where you expect these points to be lower, they most certainly were. 4.9 was average quarterback. Receivers really dropped the ball. Probably a few times they literally did. 7.23 was the average score. And they could be a little bit higher. A few of the rushing yards in here, they might be a little bit higher here or there, whatever. Running back, 6.9. So the running backs almost caught up to them. Almost. And actually, no, this was the spot where the running back would have. But here's the deal. This is interesting. I did say the wide receiver got every time. Well, here's this Sherman character. He would have been owned like 1% at the time. He literally was like the unownable type of guy. So this is that type of spot in fantasy where the unknown comes in and gets it. And it really doesn't do too much damage for you not owning it because only a few small assorted people get the luxury of having that spot to play him. And those who do, congratulations, because you can ride him to the bank. And that's the type of guy that's the type of play you'd have to make for like the Super Bowl where we're not going to have to do this in here. So Out of the situations, there were 11 times in which a wide receiver managed to get multiple 15 points or more, twice the quarterback, and 3 times the running back. How am I going to play this? Let's see. And within such, the running backs, Sherman, Sproles, and Martin. So Sherman, not every guy. Darren Sproles, the guy, the happy guy of his career, and I loved him from day one in football. He's been one of my favorite career running backs. Anyway, Doug Martin, hey, he got it done once. So now let's go to this game here. So I see my bold button now. There's my bold. Let's bold Devontae Adams as well. Keenan Allen, he plays wide receiver. So there's a third one. I mean, look at how expensive all the running backs and quarterbacks are. Prices are wrong. Thank you. You got to adjust. The game's, this isn't the normal game. These averages mean SHIT again to what we're going to be playing again. That's just how it goes. So the people I'm bolding are my eligible captains. Every single lineup is going to be played one of 2 ways. And I'm going to explain that when I'm done bolding. Oh, I should have just bolded that together. Oh, yikes. These are kick returners. Yeah, don't want to go with a kick returner. I'm just going to... these are kick returners. They don't count. Cordell Patterson ain't going to do anything. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got to be an even number. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Cordell Patterson. I'm not going to trust him. 11 eligible captains. Is there any running backs that fit the bill? I don't think Ingram's a threat to catch a ball, but he's only 3,000. But price doesn't mean anything anyway, so it doesn't matter about price. So Austin Hooper, there's that even one. Okay, there we go. That changes that. So running back, Dalvin Cook, no. Chubb, no. Kamara, he's done bad in all-star games. Let me just take a look at Kamara. I mean, let's see. Kamara here didn't play. Kamara, look at this. 4 of 36. I mean, that wasn't that great. Kamara didn't play this one. It's only one game. I mean, if Devonta Freeman was playing, I guess he's not Freeman, but I guess that's it. He only played one. He didn't play it well. But if, not Freeman, but Christian McCaffrey, rather. He would be someone you'd have to take seriously to catch the ball. Derrick Henry, no. Ezekiel Elliott, no. I'm going to play every single running back will be doghoused. Mark Andrews, by the way, he gets bolded as well. So now it's an odd number again. Every single running back will get doghoused. Every defense special teams kicker will get doghoused. These low-end guys here are going to get doghoused as well. I will only play these guys. So how it will work is this. Captain one of these guys and 5 other in my lineup. That's as simple as it gets. Captain 1, 5 other in. Guys like Jack Doyle and Courtland Sutton will get very little action as captain. I think Kenny Galladay is a very interesting sleeper pick that can get the job done big time. Shark, I think, is someone to take serious. Hooper, you got to get the tight ends in there. I mean, when you look at what Delaney Walker's been doing, and Jared Cook and Ertz, Andrews, you get them all in there. Amari Cooper, Landry, Allen, and then Adams and Thomas are your big studs. You just get them in there. Maybe you play these guys a bit more. Careful with these guys not to leave like 600, 800, 1,000 on the cap. With these lower guys, it's so easy to leave like 2,000. So I'd rather, 5,000, 6,000 rather is what I should be saying. That's going to be so much easier to leave back. 4,000, 3,600 fine as well. Another way of playing this is the following. And it's almost a way of getting quarterback hedges in as well. I'm going to play a receiver as captain that will be having a quarterback teammate with him, and then at least 3 receivers, at least 3 more receivers on that team. So of the 6 players, a player captain, a quarterback on that team, and then 3 other receivers, and then 1 receiver on the other team. That will be how I will do that. I'm doing that because of parlay odds. I want to make sure when things go good or bad, they go good or bad together. That's why I'm crushing it right now in the hockey, and be able to do this in spots like this. I plan long term that this is the crushing situation. My risk tomorrow, I think, will be in that if somebody else if the wide receiver doesn't win as captain, that's really what it's going to come down to. If they win, I should win. If they don't, I should lose. That's what it's going to come down. And the best part is I'm going to have a bet of over 200. And to me, it's all profits from today. I'm up for the weekend already. I can't lose. I went in the second hockey game knowing I can't lose, knowing going into this I can't lose. Adding stakes to the measure because I won, or adding larger stakes to it because of the winning. That's what I do as a risk-reward gambler. When I have winning sessions, I take percentage of those profits and I multiply them and parlay them into situations. And right now, what I'm trying to do is get as many $10 tickets for the Super Bowl, which is called the Fantasy Millionaire game. I've won 15 so far. So the games that I'm playing are the GPP tournaments where there's lots of people, and you want at least this weekend, where I want to try to get first place, second place, third place with unique lineups because it's so easy to do. And I'm going to be playing these in the satellites to win those, whether it be a 10 cent or 25 cent game. 10 cent, I get 100 to 1 odds, and 25 cent, 25 to 1. Plus, of course, it's rake on top of it, but that's just a general number. Okay, more math now. It's 50,000 that you need for. That's how much they give you in dollars. Is 50,000. So if you have to have 6 players, and one of them has to be captain that costs 50% more. So technically that's about 6.5 now, or mathematically I rather should be saying, which means the average players cost 7,692. So we have Thomas at 94, and then we have Adams at 78. And that tells you right there how easy it is to get these prices in. For what I'm going to do is I'm going to go this. I'm going to multiply this by 1.5. If you put Michael Thomas in as captain, it would be 14,100. Then if we went ahead and we put in Devontae Adams in, we would be in at 21,009. Then if we went ahead and we put in, say, Keenan Allen, it would be 28,900. Okay. And then if we went ahead and we put in Jarvis Landry, who's 6,200. Okay, 35,000. We need 2 more players. Actually, didn't want to do that. Let's fix it. So we take the next most expensive pass catcher, 41.1, and again we're allocated 50,000. So every combination is mathematically possible, and you got to leave back at least 3,100. Oh, beautiful! Why is it beautiful? I'm gonna go psychology here now. People just have to fill up. They just don't think they have to leave it back. Like they're leaving value off the table if there's 4,000, 5,000 off and such. So how many people are going to play all 6 receivers? Not many. So they're going to put in running backs. They got to make sure you get your Deshaun Watsons, Russell Wilsons, your Ezekiel Elliott's, your Derrick Henrys, your Drew Brees, and so on and so forth. And maybe Drew Brees will get a 15-point day, although he hasn't. I mean, it's only once a quarterback's ever done that. And maybe he'll get 11 or 12, but again, 6 quarterbacks are going to have to share about 500 to 900 passing yards probably. So then, the whole psychology of that is what it makes it magnificent. And then when we look again at the running backs, look at these touchdowns that they get. And you can go back, and I only would be assuming if you go back to all the previous years, 2012, 2010, 2008, 1996, it's about the same. They'll get a few, but the receivers are going to get the most, and the receivers are going to usually dominate. It's just how it goes. I'm playing the regularities, what should normally happen more times than not. I want to win. So that's the strategy in which that I'm going to use. But no touchdowns in this. Okay. Here, they managed 3 to a 9.4 even. To a 9.34 average. So, Freeman here had 8.7. Actually, he would have 14.7. He would have been over the 15 number. So I missed one. This is what happens when you do it manually. But still, these are guys that are like getting to that number. And 15 points on that same game. We have a receiver getting 21, receiver getting 17, receiver getting 16. You don't need it when they're getting this. Even Julio Jones here, 2 of 26 and a touchdown. That's 14.1. This is 9 points for A.J. Green. So there's a lot of good combinations to put available, even when the running backs did have that day. So if the running backs compete, there's just going to be with the big boys. They get their asses kicked here. Running backs, they're getting their asses kicked here. Hey, LaShawn McCoy got a touchdown. 0 catches for 0 yards and a touchdown. That's because he had 7 yards running for a touchdown. So 6.7 fantasy points, and he got a touchdown. See, with the goalies in hockey, I wasn't scared of them at all because I'm thinking, if they get assists or if they get a win or they don't let many goals in, they are not a threat to play. They weren't even close to a threat. The scoring was so bad on it. In fact, it was to the point in the final game, the last minute, there was Connor McDavid passed it back to his goalie with an empty net. Say, here you go, try to score on the empty net. Unfortunately, he didn't shoot. I wish he would have. I was hoping he was going for the goal. And then the running backs, bad weather, they're supposed to dominate in it. So Sherman, whatever running back, but James Conner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 11 yards rushing, 3 catches for 34 yards, 7.5 points. Lamar Miller, he had a touchdown here, 7.6 fantasy points. Mark Ingram, 0.2 fantasy points. And Melvin Gordon played and he didn't even get a fantasy point. That's just how it goes. So, that is the fantasy strategy. I am executing this again very aggressively. In fact, I'm able to live a quote-unquote the dream of being able to put multiple lineups, at least try it out. Whether I'll get to that full 150 number, I'm pretty much forced into about 120 or 130, so I'm pretty much there. Yes, I am. And we'll see how it goes on it, see what I can profit on it. I already, again, have profited for the weekend by playing in the fantasy hockey. My goal for the season for hockey is 10,000. I'm pretty much halfway there. Maybe barely past 50%. I might be over 5,000, but close with the 500 profit today. Probably am. And for 2020, my goal is to try to get close to 6 figures profit. And I got a long ways to go for that one. But March 26th is a very big day. That's the first day of Major League Baseball season, which means volume. Hockey, most I can really do is like 150, 160 bucks a day, so that's not much. In baseball time, I'm thinking I can be able to do well over 1,000. If that's the case, that's when I can start talking about making serious cash. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.